Guys, welcome to your session 2. This week we're working with Andy and Ben in the park, and he's going to help me demonstrate for you how to work on your leash maneuvers, some of the walking drills, and a lot of the stays. We're doing sit stay for 1 minute, down stay for 3 minutes, and stand stay for 1 minute, and all of those we're going to be doing next to the dog and then 3 feet away from the dog. Get started. Hey guys, welcome to your session 2. Just a little heads up on this one. The audio has been dubbed over the video due to some technical difficulties that we had out in the field. I'm going to do my best here to tell you what is going on during this session. So here we go. In the beginning, I'm going to indicate to Andy to shake my hand while Ben remains on a sit stay. This is the proper way to greet someone that does have a dog or does not have a dog. After that, I'm going to indicate to Andy to take Ben for a warm-up walk around the cones so that he can get him ready to go for our entire course. Notice that Ben likes to lead Andy a little bit, and so we're going to make some adjustments there. A proper heel is where the dog's legs are perpendicular to your legs. So keep that in mind as you're watching Andy with Ben. Ben is a rescued dog, you guys, so he's got some anxiety and some apprehension, which could be just like your dog. So keep that in mind. There you saw me tell Andy to turn and go the other direction. That's so that we can see how Ben adjusts to turns. They're going to come up here, and I'm going to have them do a 1 minute sit stay. So he's using his sit hand signal. He had to tell Ben twice. And I'm going to explain to him that this week on our stays, we're going to start with a 1 minute stay next to the dog with mild distractions going on around us, but then we're going to work our distance and our time farther away and longer. And that's what I'm explaining to him here. I want Andy to work on his hand signals and Ben's focus a little bit more. Ben has a tendency to get very distracted, as you guys can see. He likes to watch the things that are flying around. He likes to smell the air. So all of this adjustments that we're doing is to get Ben to focus more on what Andy is asking of him. So now we're going to do a down. And then we're going to do return to sit. And there is a light leash correction done there. And I'm going to have them walk again. This is to adjust the dog and to keep the dog from getting bored with these stays that we're doing today. There you go. And then he's going to praise him. And we're going to have him do a stay there. And a return to sit that Ben isn't very good at. He's learning this. Now I'm explaining to him about the distractions and keeping the dog's focus on him and recognizing when the dog is not paying attention and looking at other things. So now we're going to put him on his sit stay, and I'm going to time him for 1 minute. You can see the guy coming down the hill with his dog. That is about 75 feet or yards, away. And so we don't consider that a big distraction. If you have a reactive dog, though, that could be a different story. What you want to do in this situation is reinforce your stay. So Ben didn't even notice this guy coming. He stayed on his 1 minute sit stay. And now I'm going to explain to Andy that I want him to take a step away from Ben the next time so that he is farther away, building on the dog's confidence during the stay. So again, he indicates to Ben to stay, and then he took a step away, and I began the timer. As two ladies are coming from behind the trees with baby strollers, and they were talking pretty loudly, and Ben does notice them, and I want Andy to reinforce the stay here. Another thing, you guys, see how Andy is kind of jiggling the leash around and Ben is thinking about laying down? When he was jiggling the leash around, he was letting the dog know that he really didn't have good control there on his stay. Keeping the leash taut when you're introducing stays is the better way to do it. It lets the dog know that you're right there beside them, even though you stepped away 3 feet. It also gives you an opportunity to correct a dog making a mistake very quickly, such as in this case when Ben was trying to do down instead of remaining on the sit stay. All right, so he's going to return to the dog and praise him for remaining in his 1 minute sit stay, even though he didn't do it all that perfectly. We're only on session 2, and perfection is not what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for compliance, I'm looking for stability, and I'm looking for the dog to demonstrate some confidence. All right, so Andy is going to put Ben on another sit and it down. And Ben is going to protest the down, so we're going to turn him around, make an adjustment here, put him on sit, and then ask him to do down again, and then stay. And then again, I'm explaining to Andy some different things about the downstay and why I want him to stand close to the dog at first before he rushes away. Go a little slow here when you're building on distance and time, because to build confidence in the dog, you don't want the dog to think that you are putting him in a downstay and just immediately leaving him. Go a little slow here in the beginning. As we progress through the classes, you can move away from the dog faster. But right now during session 2, you want to do it a little bit slower. The downstay is for 3 minutes. And I'm explaining how he can make it harder later on, how he can move around the dog and be that first point of distraction, keeping the dog on that downstay, because next week things get much harder. Here's another tip, you guys. Do you notice that Ben doesn't always maintain eye contact with Andy? He's pretty relaxed there, looking around, doing his own thing. I would like to see him make eye contact with Andy a little bit more often, okay? So if your dog is relaxed and laying down, that's great. But every once in a while, get their attention to remind them that you're right there and that you're trying to do something with them, not just because of them. All right. Remember, I do everything 5 times, but in these sessions for you guys, I try not to make you watch me have someone do something 5 times, but we're repeating this again. He goes about 3 feet away, and keep in mind, Andy uses a very short leash. It's only 4 feet long. So he's a little bit more than 3 feet away. He's probably closer to 5 or 6 feet away, which is fine as long as Ben remains on that downstay. And notice that Ben is very distracted and broke that down, and Andy didn't even notice that he was distracted and was about to break the down. At that very moment when the dog became distracted by whatever bug was flying by, Andy should have immediately corrected the dog. And that can be hard when you've got somebody directing you, telling you what's next and why you do this and why you do that. But pay attention to what your dog is doing and the signals that they're sending to you as well. If they're not paying attention, you need to reinforce that stay with that command. So we restarted him on this stay. If they break it like Ben did, the time starts over. It doesn't continue on where he left off. And again, I'm talking to him about me being that first point of distraction. I'm walking around. I'm about 10 feet away. I'm talking to him like I'm talking to you guys right now, explaining that the dog shouldn't be interested in me, should be confidently sitting there, although I would prefer that he be looking in Andy's direction instead of over his shoulder at whatever seems to be interesting him behind those trees and on the ground. So that's what I want you guys to kind of cue in on when you're watching this, is have a friend or a family member, even your kids, let them do whatever they're going to do about 10 feet away from you while you maintain that dog's attention on you, keeping it on a stay. What Ben is doing is allowed and it's okay, but notice, because he's not paying attention to Andy, he keeps breaking those stays. So that's a big key component here, is to notice that Andy's not necessarily doing anything wrong, and neither is Ben, except for when neither one of them is paying attention to each other and they're breaking the stay. All right, so we went ahead and we praised Ben here just because, again, he's got some anxiety issues, and we want to make sure that this remains fun for him and not seeming like it's a drill or a punishment or seriously boring, which doing sit and down stays can be. So here I'm indicating to Andy to take Ben for a short little walk around the cones. Let's get him moving. Let's get him re-energized and refocused on what we're trying to accomplish. So here I reset my cones because I want him to do a figure 8 walking drill. It's one of our drills that we do to work on healing, keeping the dogs in place. And Andy misunderstood me, so he went towards the third cone. I have him turn around. A figure 8 is literally that, you guys. You're going to make a circle around one cone going one direction, cross the path, make a circle around the second cone going another direction. And this really helps the dogs with placement and attention on your body language. You're teaching him to turn wide for a right turn and to turn tight for a left turn. Because remember, we do left-sided heel here. So having an object or two objects or a marker on the ground, something to indicate where you need to turn, is very, very helpful when you're starting to do more of these walking drills where you're turning around objects. The other one that we do that is very difficult is called turns in place, and I will start to go through that in the upcoming sessions. Here we're ending on a stand stay. And again, For the sit stay, the down stay, and the stand stay, we're going to start next to the dog. Do it for the time frame that is supposed to be doing it. So for a 1 minute sit stay, a 1 minute stand stay, and a 3 minute down stay. Then you will repeat by extending that to 3 feet away, keeping the dog at the same time frame right now, because the extension here on session 2 is the distance and doing it in an area with mild distractions. Distractions increase, time increases, and distance increases as we go. And here we're doing it a second time, and Ben really was kind of toasted out with the stress that he experienced today during the training class. So we want to end on a good note. So I had him turn him around and I had him try it one more time. And remember, Andy's missing a step here. He's not saying stay or indicating stay after he tells him stand. You can see me doing it with my hand signal, with my hand in that stay hand signal. I'm actually trying to indicate to Ben that I don't want him to move. I want him to stand still or stand stay. And Andy was missing me doing that hand signal.
All right, you guys. Thanks for watching your session 2. I hope that it helped you out. I have Andy and Ben doing this course with us so that he can show you exactly what happens when you've got a dog that's going to make some mistakes, that has some anxiety, that has some reactivity, so that you can see how to work your dog through it. And that's why we always say here at Alaska Dog Works that patience and practice are 2 things that go hand in hand. So get out there and get started, and thanks again for watching your session 2.